Philippines ranked 84th in their overall prosperity all around the world. The prolonged poverty in the Philippines, like poor urban communities, uneducated citizens, no consistency of daily income, and people who live in the streets. With the problem living in years, the following questions remains. Why is it still unresolved? What is the Philippine government doing? How grave is the situation? Will there be any development regarding these concerns? With these following concerns, we visit one of the poor urban communities here in Quezon City, the Payatas Dumpsite. The current situation of Payatas was closed in December 2017 because it was contaminating the water. The garbage trucks that were destined for the Payatas Dumpsite were switched to a San Isidro Dumpsite. Scavengers were also made to relocate to another dumpsite, but many of them choose to stay and work for organizations that are actively trying to lower poverty rates. Analytical, intellectual, documents proven with evidence, all of these stories, we welcome you to the GP13 documentaries featuring the Payatas Dumpsite Scavengers. The Payatas landfill is the Philippines' largest dumpsite here in Manila. It is the Philippines' largest city with over 12 million residents. In the 1970s, the area was merely a ravine surrounded by villages and rice paddies. The Payatas landfill was created more than 40 years ago. With a 13-hectare footprint, the dump grew to be the biggest open waste in the Philippines. It became known as the second Smoky Mountain, where the residents' source of income came from scavenging the place in hopes of finding and selling something valuable. While their earnings are not minimum wage, it ranges from 100 pesos to 300 pesos just by selling plastic and metal scraps that they found. Not even drinkable water was available, nor electricity. They will have to make do by using an old rechargeable battery just so they can have light when it's dark out. Of scavengers' home and a fraction of Payatas B were buried under 1.2 meters of rubbish on July 10 about 5 a.m. when the landfill slope failed. An area of about 30,000 square meters was entirely covered in trash and rubbish in front of the slope's foot. An area where waste pickers' home were still visible the day after the landslide is in front of the slope that was still there. Landfill glass, which started numerous fires, made rescue efforts more difficult. In the plastered area, more than 220 bodies were discovered. Rescue efforts were put on hold 4 weeks after the disaster. Finding survivors was no longer possible, and even the dead bodies were severely damaged, making it difficult to identify them. Consequently, it is believed that 200 to 800 persons are still missing. It is believed that low trash density was one of the factors that led to this incident. Rainfall water reduced the compact strength of the trash, resulting in failure. After the tragedy, then President Joseph Estrada quickly shuttered the dump. But weeks later, Mayor Ismael Matay Jr. of Quezon City reopened it to prevent an epidemic in the city due to uncollected rubbish brought on by the closure.
Population of Payatas Dumpsite. As of May 1 of 2020, the population of Payatas is equivalent to 33,667 people. Back in 2015, the population grew to 130,277. Majority of the population are in the age ranging from 5 to 9 years old, making up to 11% of the population, followed by the age group ranging from 15 to 19 years old, then 0 to 4 years old, and then 10 to 14 years old. Majority of minors, and there are findings that the majority of Payatas population live in the slums and depend on scavenging as their way of income. According to the article From Waste to Assets by Eugenia M. Gonzalez in 2003, garbage is not a symbol of poverty, it is an asset. This paper describes the way of living in Payatas Dumpsite. The families living in Payatas are known for their work as scavenging, which means to search for and collect anything usable from discarded waste. The scavengers of Payatas work in numerous ways. First, people who are poor will go through the trash to find items to sell. The items are collected, cleaned if necessary, and then sold for a low price.
Some people not only work in the garbage but also live there because getting around might be difficult. The second is families who scavenge as their way of living do not only look for material things. The hunt for leftover foods is also one of their priority as this is one of their ways to secure food. And lastly, waste collectors with simple push cards gather waste by yelling at families to come out with their recyclables, which they buy at market prices and include newspapers, bottles, used paper, scrap metal, and etc.
But of course, with this kind of work, there is limitations and of course countless problems encountered. What are the limitations of working as a scavenger in Payatas? With this way of earning income, the range of income only amounts to 200 pesos per day or $5 in a single day. With this little kind of income, and the majority of household size in Payatas is equivalent to 4.63, meaning with the number of people to feed and little income, the people with this kind of work suffer from starvation every day. What happened? Why were they forced to live in this way of living? Because they believe they have no choice except to scavenge or starve to death. The majority of impoverished people and their families are compelled to remain and rely on Dumpsites. The limited prospects and opportunities available to the destitute drive them to diversify their livelihood activities. Some people would have to work harder to make enough money.
How grave is the problem? With all of the said problems, as time passes by, the population of Payatas continues to grow. More people are in the range of environmental risk because of the pollution emitted by the Payatas dumpsite. Moreover, poverty in Payatas is still in development process for so long, making a lot of poor families independent of scavenging as their way of income. What are the solutions implemented? What are the solutions that work and are not?
Community, the barangay, NGOs, POs, and the scavengers themselves have all contributed to the project's implementation, which has been a multidisciplinary and sectoral effort under the direction of the city government. Scavengers and the local communities were regularly updated on the situation at the dump site and the necessary steps to safeguard the safety and well-being as well as the stability of the site. In anticipation of the closing of the disposal plant, the scavengers were also given financial assistance and training in order to start small businesses and get ready for alternate sources of income. The initiative for dump site rehabilitation significantly increased the facility's operational effectiveness, decreased operating expenses, and made it safer and more environmentally friendly.
It was the government's intention to shut the landfill operation at Payatas down. From a technical view, there was no advantage from that decision. The shutdown of the landfill will worsen the ecological situation at the site, leaving the place as an abandoned contaminated site. The site remediation will become easier by appropriately operating the dump site rather than by leaving and forgetting the place. Further, it has unclear and still unsolved social consequences. The implementation of a biological pre-treatment system would have created new and much more comfortable jobs at the landfill and would not have left people without their jobs. After witnessing the occurring conflict in Payatas, government officials are taking precautions to avoid this kind of conflict. They implemented the RA 2003 Eco Waste Management Law. This requires waste segregation at the point of collection and transfer and emphasizes the widespread distribution and implementation of waste reduction, resource recovery, recycling, and reuse initiatives.
The Quezon City officials implemented a 10-year climate plan. The goal is to reduce pollution and greenhouse gas emissions to prevent climate change. This includes the Payatas dump site. Climate Plan. The Quezon City government has released its 10-year local climate change action plan for the period 2017 up to 2027, which shows the extent of commitment of the city government to respond to the challenges of climate change. The focus of this project should be on building while reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Number 1. Food security. This priority aims to provide residents ample supply of food as well as proper capacity building towards food production and self-sustenance, especially during climate-related hazards and disasters. This is also a food-sufficient measure which we learned during the COVID pandemic. Number 2. Water sufficiency. This involves addressing the city's present water scarcity through the collection and purification of rainwater. Additionally, to treat additional water resources with phytoremediation technology to utilize them more effectively. Number 3. Environment and ecological stability. The aim is to create an ideal habitat for bees, butterflies, and other pollinators that will enhance our food security.
Number 4. Human security. To protect humans from climate change risks such as health and social protection, as well as to build adaptive capacity of the local communities within the area. This also includes proper shelter and conducive environment to have a healthy citizen. Number 5. Sustainable energy. To adopt sustainable and renewable energy and ecologically efficient technologies as major components of sustainable development, rehabilitate and improve energy systems and infrastructures through disaster and climate proofing. Number 6. Climate smart industries and services. Promote climate-proof infrastructures in Quezon City as well as implement an ecological solid waste management towards climate change mitigation and adaptation.
A reflection of poverty. How did it affect the poor? Poverty should never be romanticized. It is a very dangerous way of thinking which is actually harming the poor. To add salt to the wound, Filipino loves to use this as a coping mechanism. Experiencing hardship where you cannot even tell if you will be able to eat tomorrow or in the future is something that no one deserves to experience. Instead, it is much better to study and improve the current situation in order to reduce the rising rate of poverty in the Philippines. The condition in Payatas may have improved over the past few years. However, the residents are still barely scraping by earning from 100 pesos to 300 pesos daily, which is not even considered minimum wage. The scavengers live nearby the dump with their shacks made from reused materials since transportation was not possible with their wages. For some, they treat food waste as a miracle, so just they can survive. Food waste, mostly from fast food chains, were considered as their meals. When Payatas was threatened to close down, many were, of course, worried about their livelihood, since this was their one and only source of income. Because of this, many of them have tried to explore ways in making an income and at the same time reducing the waste. The Vincentian Missionary Social Development Foundation started a saving and credit program in 1993 to help out the scavengers on the Payatas Dumpsite. This involved Lupang Pangako Urban Association, which had an initial capital of 100,000. Lupay has partnered with many different organizations and involved into also providing funds for the improvement of the streets and water system. People then began to create their own business with the capital funds they have received and flourish. With this at hand, we can see that there are countless people and organizations who are willing to lend a hand to those in need. There are also a lot of ways where we can improve the living conditions of the poor and at the same time give them a much better job and improve environment conditions. In order to end poverty, one must not only look in the present but also in the future. A plan is crucial for the process.